What's going on, everyone? My name's Tenebris, and today we're going to talk about the awesome real-world location for Road to Vostok. Set in post-apocalyptic Finland, RTV is going to be the story of you heading across the border into Russia. The main area of the game will be taking place in an area known in real life as the Selpa Line. This is an area that the developer Antti lived in for most of his life, so using his homegrown inspiration, we're going to see a very authentic representation of it. Housing World War II bunkers, cottages, rural towns, and dense forestry, the map of Area 5 in Road to Vostok will have a ton of variety in its landscapes. Heading into Vostok is a different question, but I have some theories on that one. Using the information we've gotten so far in dev letters and looking at things just on a simple level, there are two real-world crossing points of the Suomi-Russian border zone that line up to what we have in the game. In Road to Vostok, the tension between Russian and Finnish populations are at an all-time high, which explains how normal border crossing points have fallen apart, and why there are a few new spots to cross through the border zone. In real life, the crossing points into Russia are two towns called Valima and Nuijama. With Valima, it's a small border town featuring a number of outlet malls and stores. This will probably be a great spot to go looting if it's represented in the game. I can see any urbanized areas being the best spots with stores and houses to raid through. The other hand of the Selpa Line is Nuijama, and apologies for my poor Finnish pronunciations, a more rural town. Something I think is really awesome about Finland is that their towns and cities are seemingly just built right into nature. It gives a great vibe, and I think it'll be really cool to move through in the game, with dense forestry to use as cover while you make your way to the next house that may offer you loot or tactical positions for taking dudes out. The real question about the border crossing points of these small towns will be, who controls the point? If it's Russian, then we'll probably either have to stealth or fight our way through. And if it's Finnish, then we might have to pay, or do some questing, or something to get through the border into Vostok. In between those 2 points, we have a few crossing points unique to the game that don't line up with real life. These, as I said earlier, are probably due to that whole post-apocalypse scenario. But it's very interesting to think of what these crossing points may be like. Possibly more hidden than the ones in the crossing cities. Maybe more safe or more dangerous if there's heavy enemy presence. It's gonna be really cool to see what these crossing points are like. We have some ideas, but really what comes out in the end is anyone's guess at this point. Now, of course, all of this is just my speculation, and the map itself could encompass a much smaller area than what I'm imagining here. But it'd be pretty dang cool if I'm on the money. So let's talk about the Selpa Line itself. A bunker line built in the 1940s during World War II as a part of the Continuation War, a piece of Finnish history where they went to war against Soviet Russia. This bunker line never actually saw service, but reached a very completed stage before the end of the Continuation War. Housing hundreds of small bunkers, concrete networks, and trench lines, it's gonna be awesome heading through these environments, and it'll be really interesting to see how they're utilized in the game. From enemy camps to locations for traders, it'll be quite the environment when we get to these bunker areas in Area 5. There's also a museum at the present-day Selpa Line, so I'm wondering if we'll maybe see some sort of a similar landmark near a heavily bunkered area somewhere in one of the maps. But now, let's hop the border and look at the other side, the Vostok area and what we could potentially see in the maps of Vostok. There are lots of small towns that are far less rural and going more to urban and suburban landscapes. There are two places I'd like to look at specifically here that could potentially give us a hint at what Vostok itself will look like. Maybe even years before we start seeing the game move in that direction. The first of which being a city called Selesnevo, and to be frank, my Russian's probably worse than my Finnish. But stuff across the Russian border can be tough to find information on, and there's no Google Maps. So what we can gather is that if this serves as inspiration for Vostok, it will be a rather housed area with tall apartment blocks, meaning we could see quite a bit of height variation once we get into Vostok. These apartment buildings would be great as high loot sources, offering more than enough for you to rummage through and see if you could find anything good. which would be great for when you get into Vostok, as everything's going to feel much more intense, the looting probably could take a similar approach. Then, another city that I think would have awesome potential as a unique map in Vostok for us to go through, a city by the name of Viborg. This sick little city has a freaking Swedish castle in it, and I gotta say, the other main game on my channel, Generation Zero, has plenty of these. They're awesome to explore, and seeing what that could possibly be like in a heavily urbanized map with Vostok's hardcore gameplay and more realistic approach to combat, I think this would be amazing as a hero asset in one of the maps, which is a topic Auntie talked on in one of his developer videos I'll leave linked at the end of this video here. The city itself is coastal, which would also bring some unique map designs to the table, having maybe large areas separated by water that you'll have to fight over and stay safe in. With the work made on boats in the early stages of Road to Vostok's development here, they could also serve as a unique opportunity in a city with so many water features. I think if Vostok were a much more urbanized area, it would provide an even more stark difference in vibe between Area 5 and Vostok proper. Going from the relative safety of guerrilla warfare in the forests of 5, then the urban-based CQC of Vostok, it'd create a really cool dichotomy. And I think there's a bit of real-world evidence to back my theories up here. Of course, as I said, we're ages out from hearing about Vostok's area or map designs, but you could bet it's one of the things I'm most excited to learn about as time goes on. Then the cool thing will be everything in between these major locations. There's a ton of local areas around the Salpal line to serve as inspiration for Road to Vostok's map. From a country that's often been described as something out of a fairy tale, I think a lot of players are going to spend their time in Area 5 not just out of necessity, but also because if pulled off, this game world is going to be a heck of an experience. Area 5 with its suburban and rural cities, dense forestry and old war fortifications, then Vostok with the potential of being heavily urbanized, having large water features, and the potential for some pretty awesome unique locations. It's going to be really awesome to see where the developer plans to take Road to Vostok's environments and maps. Right now, with the location choice, I think this is potentially going to offer us some of the coolest sources of video game exploration in a dang long time. So let me know what you think of my theories in the comments down below. We did cover a lot of ground today, from border crossing to possible maps, so I'd like to know any and all thoughts. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you all in the next one. Until then, peace.